Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This video is a bit different. It will get posted on YouTube, but I'm using it as a form of note taking. So literally I'm making notes by actually recording a video. The idea of this is I'm going to pick up each one of these Disas in this tray. I might not do the other tray today, it depends how long it takes. And I'll read out the name for my own purposes. The name's not going to mean much to you people, I don't think. It might do to a couple, but not many. But I need to know the name, and then what I say about it I will then use to update my notes when I play it back. So, got that? So that's the general idea. The idea is to decide whether this particular pot full of Disas is up the front end of the repotting queue or the back end of the repotting queue, and whether or not it's still in bloom or whether it's out of bloom, so that I can update my notes. So that's the idea. And I've got the tray, it's full of water, and I've got my repotting tray so that we don't make a mess. Basically the idea is to, in fact, we need these the other way round. We need the plants up there, and we need this here so that I can hold the pots over it and they can drip in there, not all over my workbench. Right, so we'll start here. This is where you'll begin to get a bit of a feel for how Disas work. Now, this is out of flower, and it is Disa Pride of Constantia. Yeah. Pride of Constantia. Now this has bloomed, this hasn't bloomed, but it's an old growth. This growth has died. Yeah? So what we've got are the two older growths in the pot, one of which has bloomed, that are dying back. So the idea is to let that spike die back into the plant to produce some energy, but we'll take the flower off. So what have we got left then? What we've got left is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new growths, 6, another big one here. 6 new growths in that little pot from what was basically a couple of shoots and some very small ones that didn't grow. So that's what's in that pot. And I'm just going to, while I'm at it, I'm going to try and remove anything that's rotting, because it can form mould and it might get at some of the other parts of the plant. So in fact that whole plant's going to come off. You can see this stem is dying back. Right, so that's that one. Are we going to leave them in here? Yes, we'll have to, or we won't be able to get at the rest. So that's a small pot. The plan for that is to up-pot it. Basically move it to a larger pot to allow what is 5 or 6 new growths to push on. That can happen quite quickly. So this one can go near the front of the queue. Yeah? Flower's gone, spike's already dying back, there is only one. It's a small pot to go into a larger pot to grow on and hopefully bloom again next year. So that's that one. Now this one, another small pot. Get rid of as many drips as possible. So this one, the blooms are virtually finished. It's a multifloral, delicate little pink blooms, not large at all. And this one is Disa Troon. Yes, that is an N on the end. Now you notice the first pot we looked at didn't have a mound of moss on the top of it. First job, I'm going to take the flower spike off as before. It's as good as finished, but we will leave the spike again. And then I'm going to have a look at the pot. Now this pot has got quite a few new growths, but I'm going to try and tease some of the moss off. Yeah, and underneath this moss are lots of little new growths that would be absolutely soaking wet, sat in the moss. And I think they will grow better not being in the moss. The guy told me he doesn't plant the moss, it just grows because of the damp conditions. It's obviously being repeated, so I'm just going to move the tag so that I can get at the rest of the moss. It's obviously the moss is being repeated because he pots on and moves plants into larger pots. The moss is already there. Even if it's not growing that much, it would be there in the form of spores. So it's being perpetuated. So me taking it off isn't going to stop it. It will come back. But it will give the new growth a chance to come through. Now, have a look at this one. How many little tiny new growths can you see in there? Have a look round here. How many new growths? Many, many new growths. Whereas on the previous one they were sturdy and countable. These are more flimsy. But then looking at the plants I've got, that's how this one grows. It's not as strong a grower, smaller, but we have lots of new growths here, many. So now you can see why the guy says the small pots, just pot them on into a bigger pot. They will soon fill it up. My only worry with this one is when I do it, I might actually split it down the middle because there is an awful lot of new growth in one place. Whereas if I split that edge off and move it slightly away, there might be a bit more room. So that one, again, the stem is dying back. Lots of new growths. The sooner all of that growth gets into its new media and pushes on before winter sets in, the better. So that's near the front of the queue. Right, now we're coming on to the bigger ones. Now this one is a bit special. I'm glad this one is in this tray. And the first thing to notice on this one is the sheer number of roots hanging out the bottom of the pot. And the next thing to notice is this one is not planted in anything. It's just sat in the pot, loose, with some moss that was on the plant when it was poked in there. It's got a pot full of roots and lots coming out the bottom. It's also still in bloom. And this one is Uniflora pink group. Uniflora is one of the more, I won't say common, but in the area, Table Mountain in South Africa, it's one of the more well-known ones that most people who come from that area will have heard of, even if they've never seen it in the wild. But a lot of people from that area will have seen them in the wild because trips up Table Mountain, they've got a cable car. You know, this is like the biggest wildlife park perhaps you've ever seen, and lots of people go up there for picnics and things. So, you know, these particular Disas would have been seen. But what we've got in here are the two plants that have flowered. We've also got a lot of new growths, including quite a large one here. That's definitely going to bloom next year. So I'm going to pot that. I know it's an experiment and everything, and it could continue to grow like that, but I think there's an element of risk by leaving that to grow in that manner. So I'm going to pot it up. I will pot it very loosely. So that one goes to the back of the queue. It's still in full bloom. Yeah? So, you know, those spikes have got quite a while before they will start to die back. So that one goes to the back of the queue. Next, this one looks a right mess. This one's a bit strange because it's got a plant growing out the bottom of the pot. This one has got an awful lot of dieback on it. It's a trifle worrying. It's completely finished blooming. All the spikes have gone. So first thing we'll do is take those off. Quite a few spikes on there. That's 4 I've taken off. So that has had 4 blooms on it. So that's 4 of these large plants that are going to die. And what we're looking at is how much does that leave. See, at the moment, so there's an awful lot of white on this. I'm just trying to work out what it is. I'm just going to go and get my magnifying glass to find out if that's bugs or something. We need to find out whether it's bugs or mould. Mould is common on these plants. It doesn't look like bugs to me. Certainly no movement there. I don't see legs or wings. But this pot has quite a bit of these little white dots. Difficult to say what they are. Difficult to say. I don't think they're bugs, but I've got no guarantee. And what I'm going to do now is take, now we're getting somewhere. This leaf here, I think these are bugs. Look a bit like mealybugs to me. Not the same sort as I've already got, that's for sure. Well, the one thing they're not is scale. That's good. But they may well be mealybugs. But what we've got in this pot, and this pot is Disa Russet Beauty, is an awful lot of dieback on the grounds that most of the plants in this pot bloomed. So they're all going to die. And it's a matter of what's left. What is going to be left after this? This is bugs, and the whole plant is covered in them. Why just this? Well, it might not be just this one, but it certainly is bugs, so we're going to have to spray this. So I'm just taking as many of these dead leaves off. Again, that's places for bugs to hide, so that we can find out what we've got left. And I don't think it's going to be much, quite honestly. So each one of these plants has bloomed, but at the moment they don't seem to have produced many new growths. So this, this might be a weaker Disa. They're not all the same. It's like if you've got a load of oncidiums. They don't all grow the same. Some are stronger growers than others. Well, that applies to other types of... Right, so what we've got in this pot at the moment, apart from the bugs, is 2 strong new growths. And only 2. Which is not very good. Not very good at all. So I'm just trying to rub these bugs out where I can see them. I'm going to have to keep my eye on this one. The best thing to do is probably spray it now. Put it to one side and spray it now, because it's in a tray full of plants. I can't see them not getting on the others. You obviously don't want them on the new growths. So this is not doing very well, this one, Russet Beauty. There's another new one down there, and another one there. The more you look, so there's 4. 4 I can see. And a pot full of moss again. Do we try and take the moss off? No, this is a different type of moss. This is a, what do you call it? It's more of a low growing, mat forming moss, rather than the stuff that climbs and goes fluffy. So this moss needs to stay. I would probably do damage trying to remove it. So that's that one. That one needs to be allowed to grow a bit more because the new growth's coming. I'll try and show you. I'm tripping all over the place. They're right down in the corner there. There's one down there and another one here. They're just starting. And then we've got the two in the middle, the two larger ones. So, you know, this one is not pushing on the new growths that well at the moment. So this goes to the back of the queue after it's been sprayed. Put it separate. So that's that. Right, next. Next is this one. And this is Disa Suzette James Clone 24. Now this, strictly speaking, hasn't really finished blooming yet. The blooms have only just gone over. And this one is an absolute potful. So I'm just checking if we've got bugs on this one too. I don't see any. We have got a few dead leaves. I'm just trying to lift them off. They normally just pull off. They're already separate. They're just lying there. But, you know, any form of dieback could be contagious. It's not too much as it happens. Right, so this is an easy one to decide what to do. And what to do on here is nothing at the moment. It's an absolute potful. This definitely comes up to the front of the queue to be split into 4 large pots and to grow on next year and hopefully get lots of blooms. Medium-sized blooms, lovely pink colour. So that one will be split into 4 once the blooms have gone over and the stems have started to die back. So not at the front of the queue for a repot, but will definitely get split into 4. Nice good pot full of Disas there. Massive number of plants in that pot. And there will still be lots of plants in each of the 4 pots that gets split into. Whoops, I'm getting spiked here. Right, and the last one. Again, this one is still in bloom, so this one's got a way to go yet before it comes up to the queue, comes into the queue to have anything done to it. And this is Q Pride, and we have quite a few strong new growths pushing on. So again, this one can be split into 4 quite happily. This one, the whole pot is covered in this fluffy moss, so I'm going to see if it will lift off. It does come off very easily, and it just allows the new growths to see the air a bit quicker than they would do. That's the idea. I'm never going to get it all, but I'm just trying to get a lot of it. And you can see from that one that was just thrown in a pot, oops, we managed to uproot a couple of little plants there. Let's see if I can just tuck them back in. They may take. That's better. And the plants can see the light of day as soon as they come up through the top of the soil. But I mean, it does actually make the pot look quite attractive, but it also can make it susceptible to rot because it's holding so much water around the base of the plant, being moss and always being soaking wet. Right, that'll do. So this one will definitely get split into 4, and this one goes to the back of the queue to have anything done to it because the blooms are only just going over. I've got one bloom over here that's still in good condition, yeah? So that's that. Now I'm just going to have a quick look and see. That video is 20 minutes long, so I'm going to leave it at that because basically you get the idea of what this video is for. I'm now going to do the other tray for my own benefit, but what I'll do is I'll sign this video off. So as I said, I'm not sure this is of great interest to anybody else apart from me, but it's a necessity for me to get some details in my notes so that I haven't got to do this again. All I've got to do is just wait for these to be in the right position to be able to carry on working on them. We'll go back in their pots again now. I mean, this one that is just not in any media at all, I mean, this is one of the more attractive Disas. Yeah? So that's a good one. And then the two little ones that have totally finished blooming now, they can just sit at the back for now. So that's the idea. I'm going to do the same with the other tray now, and I'm obviously filming it because that's what I want, as I want these words to actually become notes when I play it back. And I may well post it as something for next week, just keep it to one side. It's going to be of interest to some people, but perhaps not that many. All I'm doing is establishing the workload to come. I'm not starting it yet, but in the not too distant future we will start either potting on or repotting and splitting some of the Disas. That's going to come relatively soon on those that have totally finished blooming and the spikes are starting to die back. They're not far off being worked on. So anyway, that's that one done, and as I said, I will film the other tray in the same format and keep it as a separate video that I may or may not post. We shall see, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.